Hey everyone, I have a very special guest. Krista is with us, and she has an amazing success story. And she's one of my health coaches. So I'm very interested in talking with you. Hi, Krista. How you doing?
Sure. Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you. So can you tell me a little bit about your journey, where you were when you first started? I know that you're struggling with losing weight. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened, how you got yourself in that situation?
Oh, I have been heavy almost as far back as I can remember. So
Wow.
it's been most of my adult life.
Even as a little kid?
Oh, well, I mean, I don't know about, elementary school and stuff like that, but even through middle school and high school and just
Okay.
always overweight.
Was there ever a point, like let's say when you first had your first menstrual cycle or a certain point in your life where all of a sudden you started gaining weight? Was there any distinct?
Well, I can remember the first time that my mom and I did Weight Watchers, and it was right around 12, 13 years old. So I was
Okay.
heavy enough at that point to need to drop some weight.
Interesting. Did you have any issue with your menstrual cycle at that time? Like,
Oh,
issues?
they've never been good.
Okay.
So it's kind of been just a lifelong issue now.
And where did you tend to hold the weight? Was it all over or any place initially?
Well, all over, but more concentrated in probably hips and thigh
Hmm.
area.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
I remember taking measurements, and at one point I was 60 plus inches around. So like,
okay.
it blows my mind now. It's like, wow.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like an ovary body type. Um, so you're going along, and did you try to diet for many years, or tell me like what happened?
Over and over and over. And, you lose that 30, 40 pounds, and then it just starts creeping back on. And it's like, well, if I'm going to gain, I may as well be eating the junk. And so I just gave up every time.
Wow.
And
Wow.
then, of course, the older you get, the harder and harder and harder it becomes
Yeah,
to even lose that 30, 40, 50 pounds.
absolutely. Well, when was the turning point when you found, was it when you found keto or what? Tell me like what happened when you,
Just in passing, one of my husband's coworkers they were talking about it at work, and he had mentioned it to me, and I was just looking through Pinterest and popped it in the search bar, and one of your videos was right there.
oh,
So,
wow.
which is kind of weird because I'm typically not a video watcher, but for some reason I clicked on it, and I think it was one of the intro intro to keto intermittent fasting, and I watched it, and I remember just thinking that makes a whole lot of sense.
Hmm.
And then I went to your library and watched as many as I could find about keto and IF, and probably shortly thereafter I ordered your book, and that's kind of what really sealed the deal for me. And I don't know if it was just the book had everything all in one place, but after I was done reading it, I kind of remember thinking, my feeling was like I've been poisoning myself. It's like I made this association with sugar as poison that, I'd just been kind of killing myself slowly
Right.
year by year. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It just, I don't know, it just made sense.
Wow. Was there anything in the book more than others that was like a sudden realization that you didn't know, like related to, I don't know, insulin or carbohydrates or anything like that?
Um, well, yes, I think one of my big takeaways from the book was food quality,
Hmm.
though. I mean, that kind of really clicked with me that just by eating the non-organics and all that, that I was making everything worse.
Hmm.
On top of the sugar, getting all the estrogen and, bad stuff in the poorer quality food. So that was a big takeaway for me. But yeah, it just, and insulin became the enemy. Like now I know who to battle it.
Wow. And then you obviously got started, and kind of tell us how it went and how old were you when you started?
49.
Wow. And you got started, and then tell us how it went from that point on.
We started kind of slow and simple. Lots of eggs. Trying to think of what else. Cheese. Keeping it basic. And I did track at the beginning. I think I used MyFitnessPal because I didn't know what 20 carbs or less looked like. Previously, everything. I can't even imagine prior what we were carbs a day. So
right.
I needed to do that to wrap my mind around 20 carbs a day. And first month, I think I'm trying to remember what I lost, but it was fairly significant. 10 pounds, something like that, maybe.
That's pretty good, because people have to realize that you really could only lose 2 pounds. That's on a good metabolism per week. So people are like, oh, my husband lost 20 pounds the first week. Well, that was water weight.
Right. And I remember that from the video, and would kind of tell myself that. Even on weeks where, you didn't lose. It's like, But for us, it was real kind of slow and steady.
Great. And then what was your most you weighed? And then what do you weigh now?
315 was my starting, and I'm 5'8". So, and then yesterday I was 138.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That is amazing.
In 2 years, that's we're at almost 2 years exactly this month.
Wow, that is like that's an entire person. I mean, that's like
it is, yeah,
more than an entire person. Yeah,
depending on the person.
Right, exactly.
It's an entire average size American male, maybe.
Right. That's incredible. So, do people look at you and go, what the heck because they probably remember you, so a completely different shape of your face and your body, and you're like, what the?
Yeah.
Because it's such a great before and after.
Yeah. It's amazing. And friends and family have jumped on board too and been successful. So
you're like a walking billboard. I mean, who's going to say anything like, okay, whatever you're doing, I'm going to do it.
For sure. Well, both myself and my husband are evidence that it works. He's lost 160 pounds.
I need to see his picture before and after too.
He's in your success story somewhere. He's either in the reviews or in the success stories.
Oh, okay. I'll look him up. What about your, how do you feel?
Oh, like night and day.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just, and I didn't realize how bad I felt until you don't feel so bad anymore.
Right.
It's just your normal. And I would say probably I had chronic swelling in my hands and feet, and that probably went away at about the 2-month point. So, and I had dealt with that for years. So to me, that was just like, okay, this is working.
That's remarkable. And so how many times do you eat per day now?
Now I'm back to 2 meals a day. I'm trying to figure out maintenance. So trying to find that sweet spot, because I've lost 8 pounds accidentally. But I remember you talking about that in one of the maintenance videos, that, it's a little trial and error to figure out how much fat to be eating. So I'm trying to figure that out.
Everyone's different. And then how about, give me an example of when you eat, your timing, like your first meal and your second meal?
Hmm. Well, we started 3 meals a day, no snacks. But we probably eliminated breakfast around that 2 month point. We just weren't hungry. So we just stopped eating breakfast, and we have our first meal about 1, second meal about 6, somewhere in there.
It's kind of what I'm doing there right now. That's great. And then give me an example of what you would eat in a meal.
I made a lot of casseroles just because we could eat for 3 days on a 9 by 13 casserole. So we have quite a few casserole recipes that I would make. Soup, breakfast food. We tried to vary it, but we just ate what we liked.
Wow. So can you tell people, as far as the difficulty, is it hard doing this lifestyle?
No. In fact, it's hard when people compliment me and say, oh, all your hard work. And I really feel like saying this was the easiest weight loss I have ever experienced.
Wow.
It really, and I don't know if I was just like set up for it perfectly or something, but I mean, I didn't have any of the ailments, no keto flu, none of the things that you hear talking about. But I also tried to do exactly what you said in the book. So the only thing I was concerned about might be a challenge for me is I don't like vegetables. Never have.
Okay.
So it's like I knew I was going to have to come up with a shake concoction to get my vegetables in, which I did. I have a spinach shake every day, sometimes 2, depending on the day. And we started nutritional yeast right from the beginning. So other than we had a few issues with leg cramps. That went away pretty quickly.
Wow, you're like the perfect example of the result of just doing it correctly, because a lot of times people they don't realize it's kind of a technology of just it's a formula. Do it like this, and you're going to avoid this. It just works because it's based on so many people. Like we tested on tens of thousands of people, so just do it and you'll see it will work.
Yeah, and really that poison association is what did it for me. I've never had a desire to cheat. I can walk back and forth in the candy aisle. Just reading about what goes on that food, I think I made an association like Roundup or something. It's like, would I ingest Roundup? No.
Yeah, right.
So why would I eat a cupcake?
Right. It really is poisonous.
It is, yeah.
It's interesting. You mentioned something initially when we were talking about insulin being the problem. And for those of you watching that are new to what we're talking about healthy keto and intermittent fasting. And even 10 to 15 years before someone gets diabetes type 2, they usually have problems with the eye, problems with the kidney, problems with the heart, blood pressure, inflammation, and all that happens with excessive amount of insulin, but no one ever tests for insulin. So you go along for 10 to 20 years, you develop insulin resistance because too much insulin is very, very toxic. And then they start to get high blood sugar because they fail to have the insulin regulate properly. So now we get the icing on the cake, literally, as the added glucose, high sugar that destroys the body, in addition to the high insulin. So I always tell people, if you're new to this, when you go to the doc, literally force them to test your fasting insulin. And if it's above 5, then you know you have a big problem. And sometimes it's like 15, 20, and that insulin is just like destroying the retina and the kidney and dementia. But their blood sugars are normal. So you got to look at the whole picture and understand the mechanism. How about loose skin? Do you have a lot of it, a little bit? What's happening with that?
A little bit, not a lot. I mean, for what I've lost, I know people who've had gastric bypass and literally end up having to have pounds of skin removed, and it just continues to improve.
Wow.
So that's part of why I don't want to go back to 3 meals a day. I still want to keep as much of the IF benefits as I can, because it just keeps improving.
Wow. Yeah, that's right. So people, if you do it healthily, the skin should come back just like, because it's an organ and it's healing just like everything else. And also you got trained as a health coach, a keto health coach. You're one of my coaches. Did you complete that?
Just started.
So okay.
Yeah, I haven't gone all the way through yet. So.
Okay, great. Well, I'm excited to have you do that, just because someone like you that has the reality of being there, and how many people would just love to pick your brain and say, okay, what do I do next? Because I want to look like you. I mean, that's incredible. What age are you now?
51.
That's incredible. Incredible. I mean,
and I was in menopause when I started, so I had that, what I thought was going to be a challenge, but
wow,
it didn't seem to be.
I mean, just like in the before pictures, you just look so much older. It's just amazing.
Yeah, people have said that. And the interesting thing, when you were talking about the eye issues, those pictures were taken in 2012. I avoided cameras, so there's not a lot of before pictures floating around. But it's kind of ironic that I used those, because we took those because I was trying to lose weight, counting calories or some traditional method, because I had, like, out of nowhere, an episode of optic neuritis, where my eyes were not tracking right. And so, of course, everyone went right to, well, it's probably MS. It's probably MS.
Wow.
So all this testing and whatnot, but I didn't have a lot of the other indicators of MS. I didn't, no lesions showed up on the MRIs, and the spinal tap was good. So, but everyone was still, it's probably MS.
Terrible.
I highly suspect that it was probably sugar, that I was so full of sugar and so toxic, because that's, I've been fine.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Interesting.
And, time will tell on that. You can't say anything with 100% certainty, but we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, high sugar, high insulin targets the blood vessels in the eye, which affects the nerves in the eye. And so you start having all sorts of inflammatory eye conditions, macular degeneration, retinopathy, same thing with the kidney, same thing with the heart, same thing with the brain. So sounds like that's what probably happened. Wow, this is just amazing. You did so well, and I really just want to get you on to get your story, and I appreciate you just following through and not cheating along the way like everyone else.
I had no desire, still don't.
Wow.
Just everything, people need to realize that if they do what you say, everything you said is how it was, at least for me. Your hunger, do this correctly and your hunger will go away. It did. Your cravings will go away. It did.
Wow.
Get your 7 to 10 cups of veggies, or as close as you can. I'll be honest, I probably don't get quite that much, but I've never had any issues, like I said, other than, a little bout with leg cramps at the very beginning.
Wow.
And that's been it. And what you said would happen has happened. And I never thought, to this level, I was like, oh, if I can just get out of plus sizes, I'll be happy.
Yeah, right.
Well,
wow. This is so great.
Yeah,
it's really so awesome.
It's really been awesome, and thanks to you.
You're welcome.
Just amazing.
Well, that's just definitely my reward just for doing this, just to get your results. That's what I do this for. I just love to hear that, and I got the email from you. I'm like, wow, I need to do a whole interview on just your story, because it's significant. It's amazing. So I think it's going to help a lot of people that they're watching now. It's going to inspire them to do this. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.